Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Rocky Top Review, presented by CHI Memorial. As we welcome you, coming off a season-opening win over Bowling Green last Thursday, Tennessee will host the Pitt Panthers for a noon kickoff. The game dubbed the Johnny Majors Classic. UT coasted to victory in its opener to kick off the Josh Heupel era, beating Bowling Green 38-6. The first opener in the Volunteers won by more than one score in 6 years when they beat the same Bowling Green 59-30. Now Pitt, meanwhile, entering their 7th season under coach Pat Narduzzi, and is coming off a 51-7 win over the UMass Minutemen. After going 7-7 and 8-5 and 6-5 the previous 3 years, he's still trying to take that next step for Pittsburgh, and we've got a Pittsburgh connection here. Former Cleveland Eye quarterback Chad Boytick, who played at Pitt. With that, we welcome you to week 2 of Rocky Top Review with CHI Memorial. All right, we are joined by Pat Ryan, lead analyst of the Vol Network. Pat, how are you, buddy?
I'm good this morning. How you doing?
Pat, we're doing great. And first of all, I've got to ask you, how's it going thus far? Joining Bob Kessling in the booth, and how's that working out as we begin?
Well, we're learning each other. It is a work in progress a little bit the other night, but we'll get our feet under us soon.
Absolutely. Well, Pat, your impression of this volunteer team, especially, of course, a big win over Bowling Green, but now facing Pittsburgh on Saturday.
Well, I tell you what, it was kind of backwards to what I expected. I mean, Bowling Green wasn't expected to give, much of a game, considering they didn't win anything last year and didn't look like much of a football team. But I was surprised at how well our defense played and competed compared to how we played offensively. I thought it was going to kind of be the other way around.
Well, certainly so. We are joined by Pat Ryan, lead analyst of the Vol Network with Bob Kessling. And Pat, you were a quarterback, and so tell me about your thoughts on the quarterback play for Tennessee.
I think it started out good. Then Bowling Green switched up some defense on us and some coverages. And I think our quarterback had a little trouble kind of seeing what he needed to see. And on top of that, he had some wide receivers that got stuck in some bad positions, and didn't help him out much either.
Yeah, certainly so. You, Pat Ryan, who joins us right now. Pat, of course, a quarterback at the University of Tennessee, and then you went on to play, Pat, for the Jets and the Eagles. Talk about that as we kick off a new NFL season this weekend.
Well, that was I didn't play much, but got a chance to play for the Jets. Ended up staying there for 11 years, and then finished up with my last year at Philadelphia. It was good. I mean, it unfortunately went too fast, and unfortunately we played before they really paid any money. So I'd love to be playing today. It would I wouldn't be doing anything. I'd be on the golf course every day.
Well, Pat, I know, and my partners here, with the exception of one of those, a Georgia fan. We'll get to that later. But you've been out there for the kickoff call-in show, and just the experience of Vol Nation at a volunteer, a Neyland, a home game at Neyland Stadium, it's just unlike anywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I've been around a lot of it, but the pregame and the tailgate and, the Vol Navy and all that stuff, Knoxville lives for Saturday football and always have. It's been down for a while, but the enthusiasm's still there. It was there the other night, and I expect to see more of it come Saturday.
Well, Pat, we're looking forward to you and Bob Kessling, along with the Vol Network crew, on Saturday. We're a proud member of the Vol station lineup, Vol affiliate, for the last 21 years. So, Pat, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right, Pat Ryan, thank you here on Rocky Top Review. And we're going to be joined by the other members of our crew coming up next. Stand by. Our program is presented by CHI Memorial. Kickoff against Pittsburgh at noon today on Mix 104.1 and Talk 101.3 The Buzz. And we're back in just a moment. Back with more Rocky Top Review, getting ready for Tennessee hosting Pittsburgh noon today. Our show presented by CHI Memorial. And Shelton, as we bring you in, we've got Pittsburgh coming to call.
Yeah, I mean, not a team we're very familiar with. Have not played them since 1983. I only played them twice in Tennessee history. You know, in the 125 years of Tennessee football, this year we've only played Pitt twice. We've been defeated twice by Pitt. Pitt is a team that struggled in years past. They've been average in the last 3 years. They're trying to do some things that would get them in contention for an ACC title. But, you know, at the end of the day, Pitt is going to bring a totally different look than what we saw last week with Bowling Green.
All right, Jason Cox, welcome in, and what about it?
Well, you know, last season I believe they were 6-5. They defeated Virginia Tech and Florida State, so some pretty nice wins on their schedule from last year. They're a tough, hard-nosed football team. That's what you're going to see. They play solid defense. They've got a super senior quarterback. I believe he's in his sixth year, maybe, so super seasoned. It's going to be a tough challenge for the Big Orange this week. We'll really know where we're at after the game tonight.
Josh Rogers sporting the laptop. Josh, what do you think?
Well, I got an email earlier this week, and it had like 50 pages from Shelton, so it was easier. It was easier for me to just bring my laptop than have to use all that printer ink. Yeah. But it's going to be a great game today. I'm looking forward to see what Tennessee's offense has to do against Pitt's defense. Pitt up front, very strong with their defensive line and linebackers. The secondary is still pretty young with Pitt, but if Tennessee can get it together today on offense, it's going to be an interesting game.
All right, getting ready. Shelton, any other thoughts here?
Well, I just think I think Tennessee's offense is going to live and die by Milton's ability to throw the football. I think last week we saw our ability to run the football was really good, but we were pushing around some Bowling Green guys that, I'm sorry, they just weren't very big, and so that it's easy to do that. Pitt, on the other hand, is going to be big. They're led up front. I've lost my place here, but they're led up front by Brandon Hill and Eric Hatlett. Both these guys are in the secondary, but defensive line, John Morgan III, he's an NFL prospect. He's going to make a lot of noise up front. But Milton, why I say it lands on Milton, is his ability to read his progressions, his ability to see the middle of the field, two things he did not do last week. We were talking about him growing in as a quarterback. This guy's been in college for 3 years. I mean, how much more growing do we need to do? And so I just don't think he's the answer for that. I think he is for Coach Heupel because the way he wants to run his offense. I don't think he's the answer for this offense to move the ball down the field successfully, especially when we can't run the football.
Jason, any other thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Pitt's quarterback, Kenny Pickett, comes into this game, and he's not going to make mistakes. He's going to be solid. He's going to hurt us. We have to be solid on the back end. Let's not give up the big plays to them. Let's keep it in front of us. Pitt lost 4 guys off their defense last year to the NFL, and so they're going to be tough, hard nosed, but maybe they don't know exactly what they have either. So there might be an opportunity there. Our run game got off great last week, but as Shelton said, it was Bowling Green. Unfortunately, and here's a little nugget for you: Tyon Evans isn't playing today, and so that's rumored out there. It's not official, but I'm telling you, he's not playing. And so Jabari Small is going to get all the carries, and so we'll see. Jalen Wright may get some carries today as well. I'm excited to see him.
Josh?
Well, I have to disagree with Shelton a little bit. I mean, I think Joe Milton could be the answer. I mean, the big thing is that he's only been there here at Tennessee for the past spring. That's it. And so it takes a while to develop these relationships with your receivers, with your tight ends, with your running backs. And he's been splitting time all summer and all spring. And so the more that he's getting to run with the ones and the more time that he's getting with these receivers, that timing is going to come down. And it was the first game of the season. The first time, we talked last week about him being able to play in the big house, but that was his first game in Neyland, and it was pretty hyped last week.
And Josh, to your point, he didn't even play in the spring. He came after the spring.
Exactly.
So I don't know if he's the answer or not, but that's even crazier.
Timing's one thing, but if you got a guy that throws 100 miles an hour and he's a pitcher, but he doesn't throw strikes, he's not any good to you. When every pass you throw is 15 yards over your receiver's head, that's more than 20 yards down the field. You've got a great arm, but your ability to hit your target is not there. And that's been his MO since he was a freshman, and that's why this guy is not the answer at Tennessee.
But don't you think his receivers didn't help him any last week? I mean, tight ends dropped several balls. Jalen Hyatt dropped several balls.
Well, I'm sorry, I was there. Dropping a ball is one thing. Having it thrown through your soul is another thing. That's the problem. See, we go back to Garantano against Florida 3 years ago. He's at the 2-yard line. He throws that thing 100 miles an hour, and we want this guy to catch it. It's impossible to catch this ball. You've got Milton rolling out toward the receiver. His whole body, his whole weight is going toward the receiver. He rears back. All he's got to do is dump it to him, and he throws it through him, and then he looks at him and shakes his head. Well, guess what? Nobody in America is catching that ball.
Well, he did have some throws like that, and I won't disagree with that. But the thing is you've got a quarterback that looks like a middle linebacker. I mean, he looks like a defensive end.
He's huge.
He is. Yeah. I mean, unbelievably huge. His arm is probably the most live arm that Tennessee has ever had, and since
Tyler Bray for sure.
I mean, honestly, and he's got to take some time, and he's got to be able to make sure that he hits his receivers. But Tennessee's coaches and staff, they're working on that this week. They're going to be working that over the next few weeks, and they will get this passing situation.
Well, and if it's true, you improve the most between game 1 and game 2. I think we'll know after tonight's game if he's the guy or not.
All right. We're going to take a break right here, look around the SEC, and hear the guys' predictions for today's slate. Coming up, it's Rocky Top Review on Mix 104.1, also on Mix TV, mixtv.tv, and we'll come right back. Also, Talk 101.3. It's presented by CHI Memorial. Imagine better health. Back in a moment. All right, welcome back, everybody, as we welcome you back to Rocky Top Review. And ladies and gentlemen, it's time for a podcast moment with Jason Cox.
Our off-air stuff's so much better than our on-air stuff.
No doubt, yeah. It's just like deep thoughts or something.
Jack
so.
Handy.
Yeah.
What's it called?
The Sports Message. So for our listeners out there, I do a weekly podcast called The Sports Message. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. The premise of it is we talk sports that people in Southeast Tennessee enjoy. Tennessee sports, Southeastern Conference sports, Braves baseball, all the good stuff, local sports. But it's different because, as I mentioned, it's called The Sports Message because somewhere throughout the podcast we do a gospel presentation each week. And so it's an opportunity for people like us that love sports to hear sports, but then hear the Word of God. Just for 5 minutes, we do a prayer in there, a blessing, whatever. And, so it's a great opportunity. I've got some good friends that listen, and they don't follow Jesus, but they listen to that, and it gives me an opportunity to share Jesus with them weekly. And so if you're looking for a podcast, a lot of people love podcasts. It's a ministry. I don't have sponsors. I don't want sponsors. It's a ministry. So if you're looking for a podcast, find us, tell your friends about us, and get the word out about the Sports Message.
And maybe you can start with the guy sitting next to you. I think
I knew someone was going to make fun of you. I didn't know where it was going to go.
Yeah, we just started.
Listen,
I actually thought he was going to say, "I'm glad you saved us from that segment," but that's. But
I love Jesus. I go to church. I like sports. I don't know what else I have to do here.
And look, he's trying to prove it with a Chick-fil-A cup.
This is my NIL deal for the week.
He's got sanctified chicken. All right.
Jesus
All
chicken.
right, Shelton. I'll tell you what. Let's look around the SEC. What sticks out to you this week?
I think Texas at Arkansas. This is like the game I want to see most for some reason. Texas is a 7-point underdog or a 7-point favorite coming into this game, but Arkansas has been really good and they've been solid. I think Texas is going to have their hands full this week. But I think they're going to be able to pull it off, but less than 7 on the road at Razorback Stadium.
Oh, I remember the old days. Shoot out of 69, Darrell Rawls, Texas Longhorns, and Frank Brawls at Arkansas. Sadly, they're both in heaven this morning. But anyway, so you're taking who?
I'm taking Texas on the road.
Texas on the road with Sarkisian. How about it, Jason Cox?
Well, we'll see. Either the people in Texas are going to be really, really excited after this game and feel like they've got their guy in Steve Sarkisian, or they're going to feel like it's back to the last 10 years in Texas. I'm going to take Texas in this game, and I think they win it going away.
It's an old Big 8 rivalry, Josh Rogers.
It is, and here's the thing is last week Texas 38-18 over Louisiana. The game was closer in the first half than a lot of people thought and wished. But, hey, this is Texas's really first chance to see how they play against SEC football. But I'm going to take Texas.
Josh, look at me. I'm a Christian with my Chick-fil-A cup. That's nice. Sitting by Pastor Cox. That's very good.
That's why they set me over here.
It's Reverend. Thank you.
Reverend.
It was a Big 8. Am I wrong? Was it Southwest?
He called himself Reverend Cox just now. I don't know.
That's why y'all set me over here next to him.
Heartland's called me the man of the cloth.
Although I have watched Braves games with him in the past where he slipped a little bit. But he's Baptist. Can't backslide. It's fine. All right, Missouri and Kentucky. Now, we're digging here, aren't we, Shelton? Going to be 7:30 tonight.
Week 2 is terrible in college football. So this is for third place in the SEC East. I believe so.
I don't think this is a bad game.
Yeah, this actually is for third place. Both these teams played pretty well last week. I think that Kentucky's for real this year. That defensively, they really are for real. Give me Kentucky at home at Kroger Field.
Wow. What about it, Josh Rogers? We'll go to you.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you guys. This is going to be, the third place for third place here in the SEC East. It's always hard to pick against Kentucky at home. The student section is going to be there. It's the SEC game of the week with a 7:30 kickoff. But I'm going to take Missouri on the road.
Whoa, hello.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Jason Cox?
Well, I think a lot of these games come down to offensive line versus and defensive line, who plays better. And, man, Kentucky just continues to have older offensive lines and defensive lines every year. Connor Bazelak is an absolute stud of a quarterback for Missouri. Kentucky's quarterback, Will Levis, transferred in from Penn State, had like 400 yards and 4 touchdowns last week, had a huge game. I'm with Shelton. I'm afraid Kentucky might be real this year.
Kentucky
and not just
second
tough
in the
and
East.
hard-nosed, but they may have a quarterback now, and that's trouble for the SEC East.
Is the Ivy League playing or are they not playing?
I don't.
They're not playing. They canceled their season.
I got to come up.
They're never playing
with
football
another
again.
feature. Josh doesn't know about our feature.
I do know about the feature.
Oh, you did?
I listened to this radio show before I
You're
was
the,
on
well,
it.
so you
It's
were
a-
the
it's a
listener.
horrible
Yeah,
feature.
I was the one listener.
Tell him not to go back to that
Now that
feature.
he's on,
Please do
we don't
not-
have any listeners.
Oh, we do after some comments I got last weekend. Trust me. Well, I got to come up with a new feature because whatever. Normally the second week of the year, Shelton, we do see some really good non-conference games. And they've been trying to play this one for a few years. They're finally going to play it. Oregon, Ohio State. This will be in Columbus.
Yeah, I really listen. Oregon played terribly last week. Ohio State was on the struggle bus as well. But I really believe that this is Ohio State's year to take a step back from being one of the upper echelon programs in the nation. I think Oregon goes to Columbus and comes out victorious.
Whoa. Wow. Josh Rogers, what do you make of it?
Well, last week I was watching TV and up on my little screen popped up an upset alert there for Oregon last week against Fresno State. And so Oregon, I think that you're going to see a really strong team come out on a bounce back after this. But if I don't pick Ohio State, my mother-in-law is going to never allow me to be in the family. So I have to pick OHIO.
And Adam Lewis will love you, too, for that one.
Most of them.
Let's go to Reverend Cox.
Well, Ohio State comes in. They defeated Minnesota last week, and you say, oh, well, they played bad, whatever. But PJ Fleck's Minnesota teams have been really good, so let's not underrate that. C.J. Stroud's Ohio State's quarterback this year, 4 touchdowns, 300 yards. He signed like $1.5 million NIL deal. He's making large dollars to play for Ohio State. Mayan Williams, 9 rushes, 125 yards, a touchdown. So just the same old for Ohio State. Here's why they won't take a step back, Stephen Shelton, because they continue to recruit in the top 2 or 3, just like Alabama, just like Georgia every year. They just have the best players from week in and week out. Oregon comes in. I'd love to see this upset. We'll be cheering for Oregon in my house. It ain't happening. Ohio State.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special roll-in that we're going to play before we make this prediction. This is being called the Johnny Majors Classic, and here's why.
And I came to Tennessee as a sophomore in high school. First time I saw him play in 1950. My mother took the dad and me out before daylight, and we caught the Greyhound or Trailway bus, one or the other, there before daylight, and we took the express bus. And I never forget, they let us out at Ellis and Ernest drugstore, right on the Stadium Drive. My dad and I walked down, cold day, walked down to the stadium, and on the way down, we heard the crowd roar. Tennessee Stadium was big and impressive, and I wanted to play big-time football, but I didn't think I could. The next day, Farmer Johnson took my dad and me in to meet the general. Farmer Johnson introduced my dad. This is Coach Shirley Majors, and his son John, that we were recruiting. The general says, how much do you weigh? And before I could say 155, which is about 5 pounds heavier than what, Farmer Johnson said, 170, General. I never really thought I could play big-time football, but I knew I was going to give it a try. I had nightmares in the summer about coming to Tennessee. And my main objective at Tennessee, I didn't know whether I could stay alive or not, but I thought they'd kill me up here. I didn't think I'd survive the first scrimmage. And I was very, very anxious. I'd say scared, pretty well frightened. But I had to show up. I got banged around. I don't know how many times and how many people gang tackled me. But then I made about a 7 or 8 yard run, and 1 or 2 people missed me, breaking up field, running for my life, but I kept it against the varsity. I made one about 25 yards. I didn't make a long touchdown that day. When I made this 5-yard run or so, and about 4 or 5 people missed me, General always sat about 15 rows high in the west stands, and most time he didn't have his shirt on in early fall. He had his army khaki shorts, and he wore his coaching hat, and he always had his stopwatch. When I made that one run, he yelled from the stadium, "Who's number 15? Farmer Johnson, the defensive line coach, "That's Majors from Huntland, General." Well, when the practice was over, I was pretty sore, and I got dressed. I went to Ellis and Ernest drugstore. They had a payphone in the drugstore. Went up there and called collect. I didn't have 45 cents to make a long distance call. Called collect, and my dad answered the phone. That kind of gets me emotional too, but I said, "Daddy, they missed tackles in college just like they did in high school." I was thrilled to death that they missed me. I was thrilled to be living.
Shelton, Johnny Majors, just part of the fabric.
Oh, man, listen, Johnny Majors, if you can remember that era, Johnny Majors was a legend, Tennessee legend. He played at Tennessee, and number 45 hangs in the Ring of Honor there at Neyland Stadium, and went to Pitt, was successful there. Johnny's a guy that coached 2 places and was successful at both places, and really he set Tennessee in a position, I think, for Coach Former to take over to win a national championship, and you just can't say enough about the guy.
All right, let's pick the game. We'll begin with Josh Rogers, Pittsburgh and Tennessee today at noon.
My thing is Tennessee always, on their noon kickoffs, they always come out slow. It just always seems that way. And I think Pitt, you'll see in this game early, Pitt will come out and play hard. Their defense is going to stand up. Their offense will make some plays. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to take Tennessee over Pitt.
Jason Cox.
I'm going to say this. Theo Jackson last week had 11 tackles, 3 pass breakups out of the star position, kind of came out of nowhere. Coaches said that's what they expected out of him. I'm going to say Theo Jackson picks off a pass, returns it for a touchdown, and that's the difference in the game. Tennessee wins by 7.
And Stephen Shelton.
I think that Pitt comes in. They're better up front than we are. I think they do just enough offensively, especially with their wide receivers. They have 6 guys that caught over 20 balls last year. I think Pitt rolls into Neyland Stadium, makes it 3 for 3 against Tennessee. Tennessee gets beat today by Pittsburgh.
In the Johnny Majors Classic, for Stephen Shelton, Jason Cox, Josh Rogers, Austin Chadwick, our producer, who was, Shelton, as you were telling me earlier, very cranky today.
Hey, he really was.
Really was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, something about going from one show to another,
Yeah,
and
I
he's
just
doing
don't know.
something with the video. I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Thanks to Pat Ryan for sort of joining us earlier. And we do have Tennessee football on Mix 104.1 coming up with the kickoff, which will take place at noon today. And now time to join the Vol Network. The kickoff call-in show is next. Thanks for joining us, and on behalf of CHI Memorial, I'm Steve Hartline. Have a great football Saturday, everybody.